In this video, you'll discover why little people are stronger than bigger people in relative terms, and why they tend to do exercises like pull-ups and push-ups a hell of a lot easier. We'll also look at what you can do to improve your own strength relative to your body weight, as well as cover the inherent strength differences between males and females. So make sure you stick around and don't go anywhere. If you can lift a lot of weight relative to your own body weight, you have what is called a good strength to weight ratio. But why is it that smaller people tend to be able to lift more in relative terms than bigger people, and especially excel in body weight exercises like pull-ups and push-ups? No, it's not due to angry little people syndrome. It's all about geometry and the way muscles work that explains their higher strength to weight ratio. This is not just relevant for humans either, it applies to all animals too. For instance, elephants are the strongest land animals in absolute terms and can carry around 1,250 kilograms, which is about 1/4 of their body weight. However, in relative terms, elephants are much weaker than dung beetles. Dung beetles are the strongest creatures by strength to weight ratio and can push more than 1,000 times their body weight. Why is a dung beetle so much stronger in relative terms? Well, as things get larger, not all characteristics increase uniformly. To explain this better, let's use a generalized example and imagine that a person is a cube. This person is of the smaller variety and we'll call him Little Cube Dude. He is 1 meter tall, wide and deep, and the surface area of his face or cross-sectional area is 1 square meter. His weight is 100 pounds and he can carry 1,000 pounds or 10 times his body weight. Little Cube Dude then decides to bulk up into Huge Cube Dude. He is now twice as tall, wide and deep than he was before as Little Cube Dude, but if you look closer, he is much larger than before. The surface area of his cross-sectional area or face is now 4 square meters and his overall body size is a lot larger in volume. He is the equivalent of 8 cubes of his former self. Yes, he has grown twice as tall, wide and deep, but his volume has increased a lot more. Because each cube section weighs 100 pounds, this means that Huge Cube Dude weighs 800 pounds. That's twice as tall, but 8 times heavier than before. With a larger cross-sectional area, he's now stronger in absolute terms than before and can lift 4,000 pounds. However, in relative terms, he can only carry 5 times his body weight and not 10 times his body weight like before. Why is this so? Why is Huge Cube Dude weaker in relative terms to Little Cube Dude? Well, Huge Cube Dude's weight is increasing at a faster rate than his strength is growing. Muscular strength changes with the change in muscle cross-sectional area, and when muscles get bigger or smaller proportionately, the force they exert changes in relation mainly with the cross-sectional area and not with their weight or volume. In other words, although Huge Cube Dude's cross-sectional areas increased by a factor of 4, his weight increased by a factor of 8. Although he is stronger in absolute terms like the elephant, he is not as strong in relative terms like the dung beetle. Although humans and animals are not cubes, the same concept applies. This is why you see weightlifting records that are greater in relative terms for lifters in lower body weight classes compared to those in higher weight classes. As I just mentioned, humans are not cubes and come in different shapes and sizes. And where you store your mass in your body has an important influence on how strong you'll be in certain movements and exercises. To explain this better, let's use the example of pull-ups. Athletes who are lean and have developed upper bodies like gymnasts will usually have an easier time with pull-ups compared to athletes like cyclists who carry more muscle mass and weight in their legs. Ideally, you want your weight concentrated in the body parts that are contributing to the work in a pull-up and not the ones that are just dead weight. This leads to an important difference between men and women when it comes to upper body strength exercises like pull-ups. In general, women typically have less skeletal muscle as a proportion of their body weight than men. Men also have a higher cross-sectional area of muscle mass and larger muscle fibers in the upper body compared to women. In other words, if you're shaped more like a giveaway sign, you'll find pull-ups are far easier than if you're shaped like a witch's hat. If you're taller too or have longer arms, pull-ups will be more difficult for you compared to someone who is shorter because your arms will need to go through a greater range of motion. Also, the heavier you are, the more work is required to move that heavier bulk. Therefore, if you lose excess body fat, your pull-ups, along with a lot of other things, will become a lot easier for you. And there you have it. That's why little people are stronger than bigger people in relative terms, and why a proclivity to store your mass in certain areas has a big influence on how strong you'll be at certain exercises. Don't let any inherent factors discourage you though. Everyone can improve their strength to weight ratio by cutting excess body fat and dedicating enough time to proper practice and building up weaker areas. If you're aiming to be at a heavier lean mass in order to push more absolute weight, then don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Whatever your goal is, go get strong and be sure to check out our other videos in the meantime. Thanks and see you soon.